Average entrepreneurs have average results. Elite entrepreneurs have elite results. And one of the biggest realizations I ever had as an entrepreneur, as a high-performance coach, is that thinking like an elite entrepreneur is something that anyone can do, because it is not dependent on your IQ, your education, on anything like that. In fact, oftentimes, high IQ is negatively correlated to business success, because highly intelligent people tend to overthink every move without doing the necessary things that would give them the results they want. And after working with hundreds of entrepreneurs over the years, I realized that there's truly 4 mindset shifts that every entrepreneur has had to go through in order to become elite. And anyone can do this. So buckle up, take pen and paper, and let me tell you exactly how to up your performance to the highest level. And this works at all levels of business, right? So we work from people that are just starting out to the 8 and 9 figure business level. And they all have to go through this process many times in their business career, because this is something you do after you hit every next level. It is something reiterative, like all performance protocols are. Performance protocol is not something you do once, it's something you do consistently in order to consistently get elite results. So if you're just starting out, this is going to be relevant for you. If you have a 7-figure business, it's also going to be relevant for you. At the 9-figure level, it's also going to be relevant for you. So let's get started. So the first thing is what I call finding the 4%. And this is a deeper understanding of something called, and I'm sure you've heard about it, called the Pareto law. Pareto law basically is the 80-20 rule. It says that 20% of the causes have 80% of the results, and vice versa. So 80% of the causes have 20% of the results. And this is because of the concept of power loss. There's just things in the universe that have a disproportionate impact on the systems they belong to, right? So this was first discovered by Vilfredo Pareto, an Italian economist that realized that 20% of people had 80% of the arable line in Italy. In business, that means that out of the 100 things you could be doing, there's 20 that are more important than anything else, that have 80% of the results. And this is what you have to be consistently trying to find and execute on. This is the things that matter most, the things that are going to have the most bang for your buck in terms of time investment. This is called, again, leverage. It is the thing that matters most in business. The 4% rule is the 20% of the 20%. That gives you 4%, right? So elite entrepreneurs, they have internalize the 20%, right? You understand the 20%, all that stuff. But what magic happens when you locate the 4%, the things that really matter, the things that you know for a fact are going to have a disproportionate impact on your business. And they learn this. They consistently master the skill that would allow them to execute on the 4%. What I mean by this is the following. You have probably heard the concept of zone of genius, which means that you must be doing in your business the things that you are uniquely qualified to do. And that is, of course, that's good, right? That makes sense. The problem is that nobody's born an elite entrepreneur, right? You have to learn it, right? You have to learn the skills. The best entrepreneurs that I've known, that I've mentored, I've coached, are those that read the most, which means that, but they don't read randomly, just whatever books they feel interested in. No, they are consistently seeking to learn the skills that pertain to the 4% that is going to have the most impact at that moment in time. And that is the only thing they care about, mastering the 4% that is going to have an outsized return on their time investment. And this thing is dynamic because it changes depending on the business journey that you're in. If you're typically just starting out, you tend to need a different set of skills. When you're first starting out, it's all about marketing and sales kind of thing, right? Marketing, sales, And of course, product, the thing that you are uniquely qualified to teach or deliver or whatever. But then as you move to the next level, you tend to have to master hiring, because you move from being a solopreneur to having a team that you can eventually manage. Typically, the next skill tends to be management. And then what? And then tends to be negotiation, deal making, the kind of stuff that only you can do at that level. So this 4% changes as you move up. If you are at this level, at the management level, and you're still, scheduling your social media posts, you are wasting your time, because that is not part of the 4%. And when we work with people that are just starting out, we typically work with people that already have a business at 5 to 10K a month, but we always tell them, hey, you're probably doing too much, analyze this, because at this level, what you need is one marketing channel, one sales mechanism, and one product. This is typically below, let's say, 50K a month. This is the only thing you need to care about when you're just starting out as an entrepreneur. One marketing channel, or how to make your business known. It can be cold email, can be ads, can be content, and within content, then find the 4% for your specific target market, right? So content, what does that mean? Well, it means that find the 4% that you're having the best results in. Maybe it's LinkedIn, maybe it's YouTube, maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's whatever. Whatever it is that works better for your specific offer is the thing you should be focused on. It is part of the 4%. Sales mechanisms, just the same. Product, one product. Do it as good as you can. Make it very, very powerful so you eventually get referrals. So the discipline of finding the 4% is asking yourself, every time, hey, what level am I at? Well, I'm typically at this level. What is the most important thing that I should be doing at this level? What is the most important skill and the most important set of behaviors that I have to deploy in my business in order to take it to the next level? Everything outside of that is a waste of time. If you're scheduling posts when you are at the management stage, or you are not hiring like crazy people that are better than you at the specialities that you used to do in the past, you're wasting your time. And this really is such an important core concept of elite entrepreneurs. In fact, yesterday I was on a call with an elite entrepreneur here in Spain. The guy is brilliant, has sold his business for tens of millions. Now he's starting a different one. The guy is just a beast. He's a machine, right? And I had this one-on-one with him yesterday, and he was telling me about a book club that he has with other elite CEOs in Spain, in which they are giving awards to the best management books that they can find. Management and negotiation deal making, right? So basically, they are seeking to master the 4% that they need to be mastering at that point, right? They're not reading books on marketing. They're not reading books on hiring. They're literally reading books on management and how to make big things happen. And the book club is one of the entities that gives away an important book award for management thinking. So there you go. So someone has already a very strong track record of success, that has already built and sold a business for tens of millions, is precisely getting better at the 4% that matters most to him, right? See how this works? So it's not how hard you work. It's not how intelligent you are. It's not how good you are at whatever it is that you do. No, it's how can you consistently prioritize the things that truly have the most power and be unrelenting at protecting your time. Which leads me to point number 2. Once you find the 4% and you work on the 4%, then next step is to protect the 4%. And this is what I call curate your environment. What does that mean? It means that every time that you have a 4% project, let's say, or let's say 4% focus, right? 4% focus. You have to protect it because there's so many things that are going to be coming this way, right? So many external circumstances that are going to be trying to veer you away from that 4%. And that can take, that can be within business, can be tasks that are not high leverage as the one you identify. It can be projects that you shouldn't be involved in. It can be relationships that are draining you. It can be habits that are not adding to your unrelenting quest to mastering the 4%. Whatever it is, there's always things that are coming your way. It is just the nature of being a human. So what do? You have to deflect it. You have to have a system to get that out of your way. So you can truly focus on that 4%. You can truly focus on doing the things you know are going to take you to the next level. That is how you win, my friend, not by working harder. Now, how can you deflect it? This is very, very important. Well, by understanding the power of generative language. So this is very powerful. Elite entrepreneurs, elite performers of any kind, they are following a set of rules that work for themselves, right? They have learned what they need to do and they protect the things they need to do. And how they typically protect their time and, of course, their attention is through the power of generative language. So what is generative language? Generative language is the language that you use to generate an action or a commitment. And it is opposed to descriptive language. Descriptive language is things like, today is Tuesday. It doesn't add anything to your business or to your life, knowing that today is Tuesday. There's no ulterior meaning to that phrase. Nothing really matters about this phrase. You cannot use it for anything productive. Generative language, on the other side, is I don't take meetings on Tuesdays. This is creating a condition, a constraint, a commitment for you to not take any meeting on Tuesday. So every time someone tells you to meet on Tuesday, you say, I'm sorry, I can't. This is outside of what I would normally be doing, so I'm just not going to be doing. Through the power of generative language, you start creating a web of commitments that protect that 4%. Things like, I only work on the 4%. I protect my time. Or you tell your team, everything below this average dollar an hour is done by you. You start creating a series of commitments that create your reality. And this is beautiful. How does this create your reality? Because it shapes something in your brain called the RAS. The RAS is the reticular activating system. It is something that you have in your, let's see if I can, well, this is a person, right? Well, this is a person. Every time you are perceiving stuff, right, and there's information coming to you through your senses, there's something in your brain called the RAS. And that RAS is what is going to dictate whether that thing that you perceived, it makes it to your conscious awareness, makes it to your conscious mind. So every time that you are creating a commitment and you're absolutely upholding, you are training yourself to only perceive the things that are relevant to those commitments, right? So that RAS is protecting your commitments and is filtering out everything that is not relevant to you. So for instance, let's say that you have decided that part of your 4% is becoming extremely good at marketing. Well, you're going to start seeing a lot of opportunities related to learning marketing. And if someone comes to you with the opportunity of learning operations or learning Vietnamese cuisine or learning how to, whatever, your RAS is not even going to pay attention to that thing because it is not relevant at that moment. So by the use of your generative language, you can create the conditions to make the brain very efficient at filtering the things you need most, so that over time, your performance increases. You become better over time. You understand exactly how to get to that next level, right? And this is a process that anyone can do. It's not depending on your IQ. It's depending on understanding that every time you make a commitment, you are creating a cascading of neurological and psychological effects that can be harnessed for high performance. And this is how you create your environment. You eliminate the things that are not relevant to that 4%, and you double down on the things that actually are. Over time, in a matter of days or weeks, you start becoming very good at filtering in everything that is marketing, assuming that that is the thing you've identified that makes the most sense, and filtering out everything that doesn't need to be paid attention to. This is one of these sneaky little secrets of peak performance training, the things that makes our clients so much more powerful. Of course, if you've seen any value of this video, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so we continue creating fantastic content for you guys. Now, is this enough? Well, this is already very good, right? If you're working on the 4% that matters most, and you're architecting, designing your life, your business, your relationships, your learning protocols, everything around the 4%, you're already miles ahead of the average entrepreneur. But it is not good enough. And step number 3 is what I believe is the killer app, is the thing that matters most, is the stuff that makes our clients so effective. It is creating your internal environment. Which is what? Which is your cognition. Which is what? Your thoughts and your emotions. So having mastery over your internal environment, over your thoughts and your emotions, is what is going to drive the behavior that you are going to be deploying. Because if you commit to that 4%, but then you have something that I thought that is coming your way, that it can be fear, it can be anxiety, it can be just a distraction, it can be tons of things. If you have these things coming in your mind, right, within your mind, every time you're working on the 4%, you are going to stop working on it. You're going to get distracted. You're going to get fearful. You're going to be doubtful. You're going to have all sorts of things vying for, and this is a magic word, your attention. Your attention is the things that you have to learn how to control. This is the things that we teach our clients how to do it. Why? Because thinking positively and having positive emotions, like most people tell you, this is the key. Just, focus on what you want and you will get it. Well, there's partial truth to it, but it's not the whole picture, because you don't have conscious control over your thoughts. If you think about it, you don't really know which thought is going to pop into your mind, even if you're trying to summon it. If I tell you, think about an elephant right now, which elephant came to your mind? I don't know, probably the last one you saw. Or maybe you have a pet elephant when you were a kid, probably that pet elephant. But you don't really have, at the limit, control over your thoughts. The thoughts are automatic. And oftentimes they're just negative, because if you haven't done the inner work of healing, of understanding where does your subconscious programming comes from, most of your thoughts will be negative. Most of the things that come into your mind when you're working on the 4% are going to be fear, anxiety, distractions, things that get you out of that 4%. Even if you became very good at filtering out the things that were not aligned. Remember that when we work on the RAS, reticular activating system, we filter out the things that are not relevant, at some point, we start getting less of the things that don't matter. But still, you still have a mind. You still have a mind that has a subconscious programming that we have to, over time, I call it cleaning, but you can call it, get clear of. So It is through curating your internal environment, understanding that you have power through your attention, to paying attention to the thoughts and the emotions that are aligned with that 4% and deflect the thoughts and the emotions that are not aligned with that 4%. This is what makes a high performance entrepreneur. It is not the fact that they have no fear. Navy SEALs have fear. Even the most highly trained people in the world are constantly dealing with their fears. But they deal in a productive manner. They know how to prevent those fears, that anxiety, those distractions to derail them of the 4% that they committed to. This is such an important part of becoming an elite entrepreneur, and it has nothing to do with how much education you have or how intelligent you are. No, it's how much control you have over your attention. In other words, how well trained are you in performance? This is why we do what we do, right? So there you go. So first, we commit to the 4%, we find it, we isolate it, we commit to it. Through our commitments, we create our external environment. We don't pay attention to the things that do not matter outside of ourselves. And then the next step is not paying attention and letting go of all of the fear, anxiety, and distractions that are not related to that 4%. So we can beautifully and consistently remain committed to the things that we said was most important to us. This is step number 3. Now, I said there were 4 steps. Is there anything more powerful than this? Well, in full honesty, no. This is the most important part of anything in life. Once you have control over your mind, and this is what I call mental mastery, right? A new world opens up. A new way of living opens up. A new way of looking at life opens up. Right? This is the most important skill. This is the thing that our clients find the most valuable. Now, if you want to win, if you want to be top 0.01%, if you want to build epic stuff, like some of our clients do, you need a final mindset shift, something that takes everything we just shared and puts it into overdrive. And that thing is very, very, very simple. It really is very simple. Move faster. Move faster without rushing. So this is important, right? The mind, your mind, my mind, all minds, tends to believe that things are harder than they actually are, that things take longer than they necessarily need to, and that slows us down massively, especially if we have no control over our attention and we're constantly battling with distractions. So the last step to really go into high-performance thinking is ask the magic question: how can I do or get this done faster? Faster. This is key because the average entrepreneur is too distracted, constantly boiling oceans, constantly moving very, very slow in relation to how fast they could be moving and how much more information they could be having. And this is eventually, this was coined as the Parkinson law. Parkinson was a British officer in 1930-something. He formulated that work will take the time allotted for its completion. If you give yourself 1 day to do something, it's going to take 1 day, but you can tell yourself that you can do this in 1 hour and you'll still get that done in 1 hour. Most time, this holds true. So the goal is to move as fast as you can without making mistakes, without being careless, without rushing. And how do you do that? Well, remember that anything in life really is just a few iterations away. You don't need 10,000 hours. That is pop psychology. But you may need 10,000 iterations, depending on how difficult it is what you're trying to accomplish. An iteration is every time that you do something and you reflect about it, you get feedback on it in order to become better at it, right? So this, when you're moving in a direction and you take time to review and do it better, and then you review and you're doing better, and over time, you're consistently doing better. You are consistently moving up and doing things in the best possible manner, right? So your performance is going up. It's going up because you are learning. You are learning. But this is the elite way. The average entrepreneur is taking a lot of time to do something. So when they think, they reflect, the next iteration is just too slow. And they get wiped out by someone that the only thing they're doing better is just learning faster. This is, feedback loops 101. So moving faster, doing the things in the best possible manner without taking too long is a core skill of elite entrepreneurs. It really adds a lot of value, and it is not hard to do. It is not some magical skill that you just only learn at very elite boarding schools. No, it is something anyone can do. It's how can I do this better? How can I move faster? How can I validate this idea in the fastest possible way? If I'm currently recording 1 video a week, why can't I record 4 videos a week? I probably can. If I'm taking 4 hours to do a script, why can't I get it done in 2 hours? What is the technology or the help that I need in order to get to 2 hours? All of these things is what really drives exponential returns. This is the things that eventually make exponential growth curves. And this doesn't take years. This can take literally weeks, right? We've seen people 10x their business in 3 months. Like, how is that possible? Well, they found the 4%. They removed everything that didn't have to do with that 4%. We tell them how to master their mind, and then they move faster than they ever moved before. And this is how you do 10x revenue for an online business in 3 months. Is it magic? Well, it certainly looks like so, but it isn't. 10x revenue in 3 months. We've done, 2x, 2x, doesn't matter. A lot of X's on agency owners, on e-com, even SaaS at some point. I think this was a SaaS. So this is how you do it. This is how you go from average to elite performer, by changing how you think, by changing how you approach the task that you are committed on doing. This is the point that is going to make you it's going to make you better. It's not how much marketing you know if marketing is not the bottleneck. It's not how many connections you have no idea what to sell. It's not how much finance knowledge you have if there's no money in the bank account. No, it's always finding the bottleneck and then doing what is required in order to get it done. Right? So I hope this was useful. This certainly is very useful to everyone that we work with, because we are all capable of moving faster. I ask this question to myself every single day. How can I get this done better? How can I find new ways of getting this done much faster? This is a core skill of high performance entrepreneur, right? So consider subscribing if you're new to the channel. If you want a deeper dive into high performance principles that are guaranteed to up your performance, check this video. And of course, see you in the next video. Cheers.